I just want to do look at some reasons for why the signals that we're getting that the military operations are going to continue, right? So, first of all, Mojtaba Khamenei selecting him is a clear signal to the Americans that they are choosing defiance and revenge over any form of compromise. And given how President Trump made it very clear that they're going to go for full surrender, that means that, like, even if you imagine that President Trump wanted a way out to claim victory and then get out of the military operation, the Islamic Republic is not giving President Trump anything that he could point to and show that, oh, they're surrendering, right? Especially by picking Mojtaba Khamenei. So, for example, I saw President Trump trying, like, framing the Pezeshkian statement as a surrender. And I'm happy because Pezeshkian came out and said, like, sorry, like, we attacked countries in the region. We're sorry. We didn't mean to do that. We were just very emotional. He actually his statement was like, we were just like, they killed a leader, guys. Like, sorry, like, that's what we did. Like, and also these different groups are just doing their own thing and we'll stop now. And then when he said, as soon as he said that, President Trump was like, oh, they surrendered to the countries in the region. This is like, that's what the framing of President Trump was. And then immediately after, the IRGC was like, yeah, fuck Pezeshkian. Who the fuck is Pezeshkian? They started bombing more countries in the region, which is weird because Pezeshkian was saying, I mean, Pezeshkian was not saying that as the president. He was saying that as the leader of the Council of the Supreme Leader before Mushtaba was announced the Supreme Leader. So after Khamenei's death, there was a council that was acting as the Supreme Leader, a temporary council, with Pezeshkian being the head of it, and Eji and Arafi being the two other members of it. So Pezeshkian as the president, Eji as the head of the judiciary, and Arafi, an Ayatollah, like a religious leader, right? Which some people thought that he might actually become the supreme leader. But he said that, and guys, I've been following the pro regime outlets. They were so angry. They were so angry. Like, the content against Pezeshkian was so wild. And Ejei, which is another member of that council, came out and said, yeah, no, we're going to continue the attacks, which shows that even within the council of the supreme leadership, there was division. And there are posts after posts against Pezeshkian, to the point where Pezeshkian came and said, yeah, I didn't mean that. The enemy is trying to use my words and, change what I'm saying. Like, he's trying to blame the enemy. So even Pezeshkian had to take it back, which is good for us, because meaning that even something that could slightly be seen as maybe a surrender, the IRGC is not giving that to the world. Like, we're in it, we're good, we love this war, let's go in, we're all in. IRGC, they're not just acting like they want this war, they're actually going all in, right? And it seems to me Khamenei had a moderating role. It's hard to say this, but it seemed like Khamenei actually had a moderating role based on how we're now witnessing the IRGC is behaving. They be crazy. Right, they're like, we are very comfortable with how things are going, and we're not going to let the Americans get away from this. And let's just, and all the signals that they're putting out there is no surrender and all in. Even Arakchi, for example. So Arakchi has now a new lead. Like, I don't know who's giving orders to Arakchi now, but it used to be Khamenei. So Arakchi has new bosses who's like, it's not Mujtaba. By the way, if you're wondering if it's Mujtaba, it's not Mujtaba. Okay, we just went through a coup d'etat in Iran. Okay, like, a lot of people haven't noticed, but the IRGC is now fully in charge, and Mujtaba is irrelevant for now. Okay, so the Council of the Super Leadership showed that it was irrelevant. based on what Pezeshkian did and how the IRGC responded. They cancel the Council of Experts that picks the supreme leader. I think in English they call it the Assembly of Experts. Yeah, that was irrelevant because IRGC picked the supreme leader. It wasn't the Assembly of Experts as it's supposed to be by the Constitution. And they pretend that it was them, but it wasn't them. It was the IRGC, and everything is now. So Arakshi came out and said, "We're not at all interested in even talking to the Americans right now." So President Trump wants to surrender. Arakshi is like, "We're not even going to talk," right? So all of this shows that even if the Americans wanted, even if I'm saying this is a big if, wanted to stop these military operations, the IRGC is not giving them anything that could be sold as a surrender, right? So President Trump also mentioned that picking Mojtaba as the supreme leader is unacceptable, and he also said that the next leader needs to be something that he approves, which is like it's not something that is even on the books when it comes to what IRGC is able to tolerate. Um, I get the question might be why are they doing this? Like, are they really that confident that they are going to defeat the Americans? And the answer to that is that depends on what you mean by defeat, right? IRGC thinks that as long as we don't have complete collapse, they're winning. Okay, because their understanding is, well, the Americans can't just stay here forever, obviously. And if they go, once they go, well, we have oil and gas and we will rebuild everything. I mean, the worst outcome, like if we surrender, they will come and replace us and we will lose everything. That's their understanding. So we shouldn't surrender. If we don't surrender, at some point, these people are going to go home. And the way for us to stay in power is to make sure that our followers are continuing to support us. Bending the knee to President Trump will make us lose that, right? So imagine if they have, I don't know, let's say, for example, for the argument's sake, they have 6% support, all right? That's the 6% that they need to rule. They need 6%. That's their entire that's their peoples. The 6% of Iran is their people acting like a parasite and sucking the wealth of Iran, their resources and everything they have. They need to just make sure that the Iranian people who want regime change, well, we have the guns, they don't. We could keep them down. The Americans and Israelis, they bomb us, but eventually they have to stop. They don't, as powerful as they are, they don't have endless weapons. They don't have endless missiles. They don't have endless interceptors. So eventually they have to go, and eventually not only this is not bad for us, this is actually really good for the 6% that we have, right? Because from their perspective, imagine once all of this is over and the day that you see that the airstrike carriers are now moving away from the Middle East, right? What if I need that 6% to continue to rule? Then imagine the messaging I have now. I was like the most powerful forces in the history, the most powerful military forces in the history of warfare came right to our doorstep to do regime change. And they left, and we're still here. If that does not prove that God is on our side, that this is the army of the Mahdi, that nothing can take us away, then what else will? So, and not only that, so from IRGC, we're like, you know what, this is actually not that bad, right? Because we were trying to be the main power in Iran, and they just came in and they took out Khamenei for us, right? So there was always a competition behind the scene between the supreme leadership and IRGC. So The remaining people in IRGC, they never thought that they will have this much of a high of a ranking. Right? Not only Khamenei is gone, not only now we have a supreme leader that is our puppet. These third layer people, they're like, wow, I just got a promotion because everybody above me was taken out. So this is all the resources, all the oil and gas money from Iran. If we survive this, is for us to keep. So this is such an for them. This is like such a encouragement of going more radical. If they bend the knee, they will lose the support of some of the 6%, and eventually that means that they will be toppled, and they will have nothing. If they resist, and eventually the Americans and Israelis stop, then they have everything, because there's nobody else to share it with. Khamenei is gone. The people who used to be in charge are gone. So now these third layer leaders, they're like, what? Everything is left for us. So the choice is between nothing and everything left. So that's why they have to double down. And that's why it's like very like, even if you're the Americans, like, so Israelis have been for regime change for a very long time, right? But as Americans, even if you were not for regime change before, you kind of have to be right now, because this version of the Islamic Republic that is going to be left for us is so much worse than the one before it, because its entire legitimacy will come from standing up to America and standing up to Israel. And also, like, any form of compromise would be seen as giving in to the people who killed our supreme leader. So, guys, imagine how difficult it was for Khamenei to manage to justify speaking with the Americans, given that President Trump killed Qasem Soleimani. That was such a hard sell before. So imagine how big of a sell, much more of a difficult sell it's going to be right now to compromise with the Americans, given that they killed the supreme leader, and given that they don't have a supreme leader to justify like backing down. Like before, the Islamic Republic would talk aggressively, and then when they didn't needed to compromise, they will back down, and Khamenei will come and give it a justification to basically calm down the hardliners. Right? He was the calming force. So like, guys, this is why we're doing this, okay? And we're actually like, he will try to justify it as if like strategically they're destroying them rather than militarily. But we don't have that figure anymore. There's like, Mojtaba Khamenei doesn't have that influence over the hardliners. Guys, we have Mojtaba Khamenei. We the only video we have of him speaking is a video of him canceling his online course. That's the only video of him coming out and putting a video of them like, guys, sorry, I'm canceling the course. And for some reason, by the way, for some odd reason, in that video from a couple of years ago, he mentions, I don't know why he had to add that his father doesn't know that he's canceling his courses. He's teaching courses. These courses is very important. Like, you might think that these are religious courses, right? And it might, for a lot of people, don't understand the importance of this, because they think it's just basically an educational material for people who want to learn about Islam and stuff. You teaching people in Shia Islam is your legitimacy to be a marja, right? So just like a university professor who has to if you want to be a professor, you need to have this many articles. To be a marja, to be like an ayatollah, you need to have certain hours of teaching other high ranking ulama of Islam, Islamic fiqh and jurisprudence, and all the Sharia and the Islamic philosophy and all of that. Like, you need to get this in, because it's very interesting, because when Khomeini died, Khamenei was like speed running through putting courses out there, right? Like teaching people just so that he could get to the Ayatollah, claim to be an Ayatollah and a Mujtahid, for him to have his credibility to be a supreme leader. So Mujtaba needed to, for so many years, like, because Khamenei was making him ready to be the supreme leader. So you could see him like going to, seminars and basically teaching people about Islamic fiqh to get the legitimacy to be this Islamic, to have the is, Islamically be at a high enough level for him to be an ayatollah that can be the supreme leader. So I don't know exactly the details of what you exactly need to get to that position, but I know you need a lot, right? So whenever you see them communicating about their Islamic courses, that is politics. That is not just like, courses. It's not like just a hobby or something. So yeah, these are the reasons. I mean, we have other signals that from the Americans that they're not backing down. The Americans are signaling that the worst for the Islamic Republic is still to come. So, like just yesterday, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth warned that the U.S. was preparing for its most intense day of strikes, and they're yet to dismantle the Islamic Republic's missile production completely. They said they're going to keep doing it until they bring it to a zero. And also for the signals that we're getting from Israel has expanded its target list in the past 24 hours. The IDF has launched fresh wide-scale waves of attacks targeting Tehran, Isfahan, and southern Iran, while at the same time ordering evacuations and bombing Hezbollah strongholds in Lebanon. So no sign. I mean, things might change, but no signs from either side regarding de-escalations right now. I hope, like, let me know if that was useful. All right, let's go down the list.
Okay, next we have Cat Lady.
My turn now. Yeah, I'm on a different system, so I hope you can hear me good. There was a TV show in Israel that showed, I'm not sure it's like the only one, but I saw a TV show that showed a list of like the wanted or the almost dead or half dead IRGC members and Iranian like regime, names. And they explained each one what they did, what they remember them for, why do they like deserve it. And at the end of the list, they showed, they said, who is not on the list? Pezeshkian. And why? Because he doesn't matter. I thought it was funny. It's not an official thing, it's a TV show, but it's still, yeah, he's not on the list. We don't care. He's nothing. In a way, it seems like this. So, I also heard that maybe they chose Mujtaba exactly because if he's like already dead or whatever, we cannot kill him again. So it's like maybe it serves them in a way that it's a leader which is not really there or whatever, but it's a French thing. Never mind. But I have one issue that I don't know. It's like Hezbollah was bombed so many times and hurt so many times, and it's still giving a fight, which is so frustrating, and it's so scary to see because we think, oh, this time it will be okay, this time it will be, and Hezbollah just this week gave a lot of like they are giving a fight again. Like, what are they fighting with? It's like it's frustrating. I don't know. It's like it seems like what are they made of? Why can't they die? I don't know. It's like so. I hope it won't be like that in other places like Iran or whatever. But it is a thing that Israelis are. We know this reality, sadly, that we think it's done, but it's not.
This is why the fight is an ideological fight. You're not just doing a military battle. As long as we have the Islamic ideology, we will always have an enemy to fight, right? So this is why to fight this war, you need to long term. We need to be thinking about reaching to the next generations of these people and try to de-radicalize them as well. Military strategy is not enough, right? But I mean, go through within the Islamic Republic. Let me go through the. So you mentioned the list of the people that are left. This is the list I have, right? So we have the Larijani brothers, Ali Larijani and Sadiq Larijani. So Sadiq is less important right now. He chairs the, a council. I don't know how to mention it in English. The Expediency Council, I think. But Ali Larijani is more important. He he seems, I mean, before Mojtaba, I don't know how much of how influential he is right now, but right before the announcement of Mojtaba as the supreme leader, he seemed to be the main guy that was managing the day-to-day regime operations and security, and as the secretary of the Supreme National Security Council following the strikes. So Ali Larijani seems to be one of the most important person within the Islamic Republic right now. And then we have Hossein Nejat, which is the deputy commander of IRGC's Sarullah headquarters. That is, a lot of people don't know how important Sarullah is, because, I mean, this guy is in charge of securing Tehran. So that's critical for the survival of the regime. Tehran, if Tehran falls, basically the Islamic Republic falls, right? So Hossein Nejad is basically guarding Tehran. So if we want to basically do regime change, we need to go through him and Sarullah, right? And then we have Ali Abdullahi, which is deputy chief staff of the armed forces. I think he's the guy in charge of Khatam al-Anbiya, which is one of the most influential, richest part of the IRGC. And then we have Ahmed Vahidi, which is he was a former interior minister and veteran of the IRGC, but now he is like the in charge of the IRGC after the person the person before him was killed. And then we have Ejei. I think you guys know Ejei. He's the chief justice, the head of the judiciary. A lot of Iranian people really hate this guy. He was also part of the council of the supreme leadership, so the interim leadership council, so basically that acted as the supreme council, but that council is no longer there, given that Mujtaba has been chosen. Obviously, by the way, guys, obviously ahead of all of these people is Mujtaba. That's a given. Actually, Mojtaba Khamenei is very influential. Even though the IRGC is the main decision maker, they need Mujtaba right now for to keep people on the side of the Islamic Republic. Like, he's a puppet of the IRGC right now, but he's a very important puppet. Like, he's very much needed. And also he's been missing. Like, we don't even know if he's actually alive. There's different reports that he might have lost his leg. We know for sure that his mother, not only his father has died in these strikes, but his mother has died, his sister has died, his kid has died, and his wife has died as well. So he pretty much lost almost his entire family, immediate family, Mojtaba Khamenei, which I don't know what kind of a person he is, given that we don't see him much, but that might make him a lot more radical. Like, nobody in his family, I think most of people, I think he has some other children that are still alive, but all of his most of his immediate family is dead. Oh, by the way, Mujtaba is actually more radical. Mujtaba Khamenei has been more radical than his father when it comes to use of force. So when it comes to religious affairs, he might not be as radical, but when it comes to use of force, he's extremely radical, like way more than his father. So that's a huge concern. So you mentioned Pezeshkian is not that important. Yeah, when it comes to having a say, Pezeshkian is absolutely like close to irrelevant, and we saw that as you saw just recently. Pezeshkian came out and said that we're not going to attack anybody, and immediately after they started attacking the countries in the region. However, killing him will be very symbolic that nothing in the Islamic Republic is the same. So I think there's taking him out would be beneficial. And then, somebody very important is Ghalibaf, Muhammad Baqir Ghalibaf, the Speaker of Parliament, the Majlis, which is a central figure within the Islamic Republic right now, one of the most influential people right now. And then we have Ahmad Radan. Radan is the number one person when it comes to suppressing the protests. He's the commander in chief of Faraja, which is basically the unit the Islamic Republic created to suppress Iranian people protesting. So the fact that he's alive still confuses a lot of Iranian people. They think that he should have been one of the first people to go, given that like the whole point of the strikes right now is to reduce the suppressing ability of the Islamic Republic. Well, if anybody is responsible right now for suppressing the protests, is Radan. By the way, Radan is very, very cruel. So it's Iranian people hate him so much. So three other people that I think will be so important to make sure the Islamic Republic is completely gone is Hassan Rouhani, Hassan Khomeini, and Muhammad Khatami. These three people are the. If I wanted to pick, if Mojtaba Khamenei dies, and if there's any part of the Islamic Republic that wanted to signal surrender to the Americans, they will make one of these three people the next supreme leader. So, as a way to basically surrender and keep the Islamic Republic alive. Given the way that the IRGC is behaving right now, it seems very unlikely that they're willing to go with any of these people. That would be like the hardliners that support the Islamic Republic will not at all tolerate that. But given that that's the only way for the Islamic Republic to tap out and survive, I think taking out these three people, the so-called reformist moderates, would be a signal that the Israelis and Americans are going for a complete destruction of the Islamic Republic. And honestly, the Iranian people are looking forward to these people's death more than some of the IRGC leaders that I mentioned to you guys. The reformers are so much more hated by the Iranian people than many of the hardliners.